ahead and get started. There's two analogies or two kind of ways I want you to think about this, and one might fit you better than another. But the first analogy of this whole transition, this whole big process that we're about to go through, to me seems similar to a runner. Somebody who's getting ready to run a race. You practice, you train, you eat right, you do everything you're supposed to do. The day of the race comes, you're all excited, you're all ready. You're running, you get to mile 10, 12, 18, however many miles you're running, and it starts to get hard. And you think, am I really ready for this? Can I do this? You persevere, you get through it, people help you along the way, and you finish the race, and of course you're very proud of yourself, excited, and proud of your accomplishments. The second one, if you're not a runner, maybe you have either built a house or remodeled a house. And the planning process, you're thinking about carpet and paint and where we're going to put this furniture and where we're going to do this. But then when it comes time to hang sheetrock, you're kind of like, well, this is not easy as I thought it was. Or you have to be the one that paints the house. It's not as fun as you thought it was. But of course, when you finish, you've got your room finished or your house finished, and you're proud of your accomplishments. So the same thing is going to be with this. We're going to have a lot of training to get ready for it. It's going to be some whole group training like today. It's going to be some individual training with your grade level. It's going to be some by yourself training if you need that with me or Ashley. We're going to have a lot of practice, times when you can practice by yourself, times when you can practice with your friends, times when you can just practice and sit down and go over some things. And then the end goal is that you will have this thing that you've created. You will have a website, you will have documents, you will have email that you can use, and hopefully these things are going to be more engaging for students. They're going to be areas where you can collaborate with them, create with them, and come up with a lot of interesting things. So Google Apps is what we are moving toward, and you may or may not, when you hear Google, you automatically think search engine, and you know that you can go on Google and search for things. But Google has a whole variety of things, a whole suite of things that we're going to start to use. But before we get to that, just kind of where we are in the county with this process. There's going to be a county-wide re-image sometime between now and spring break. So that means someone will come in and completely wipe out all the computers in your room, your laptop included. So that's kind of why you need to begin thinking about, how am I going to save emails that I want to keep? Or how am I going to save things on my H drive? Things that I've just got on my desktop that I go to often. There's going to have to be some way that you're kind of thinking about, how can we get this saved? And that's where Ashley and I will come in too and help you if you need help saving those things. So if you haven't purchased a flash drive, $10 or $15, go get one so you'll have it ready and you can start saving some things. Okay, so first class is going to go away after spring break. So when you come back from spring break, you will no longer be able to access first class at all. Novell is going to go away after the re-image. So it might be before spring break. They're going to give us hopefully a week or two heads up as to when it's coming. But something will replace Novell called Active Directory, and it'll just be a new way to log in on your computer. So updating your web page will be something that Ashley's going to help you with during grade level this week and next week. And it's going to need to be something that you put on this web page that's going to have to last you through the end of the year. So if you know dates that are coming up, go ahead and put those on there. But after spring break, you can't change it. You can't edit it. You can't look at it. It's out there in space for parents to look at, but we have no control or changes can be made to it. So stop me if you have questions. You're on the way. So we said Google actually has many parts. It's not just a search engine. It actually has Gmail, which is what we're going to use for our email. It has a calendar, which we've used several times before, with like signing up for the iPods and different things. It has Google Sites, which is where we're going to start making our classroom web pages. And then it has Google Drive, which is where you're going to create documents and presentations. So these are basically the four parts that we're going to go over today. And just highlight each one of them, show you what they look like, and then when we sit down individually with grade levels will be when we actually dive into redirecting your email, showing you what to click on, that kind of thing. All of those apps I just went over are going to be found in what these little dots are, and the guy at the training called them the Rubik's Cube, and I think that's something familiar to all of us. So I've called it the Rubik's Cube. And everything that you click on opens up in new tabs at the top of your screen. So if you want your mail, you just click on mail and it opens up, and Drive and sites and different things. So your apps are all contained within kind of your email. It's all one thing. All of those apps I just talked about are, of course, cloud-based apps. That means they look the same wherever you log on, no matter what computer you're at, where you're at. You don't need your flash drive anymore. If you created things on Google, it'll still be there. You can find it easily. You can access the data all the time. It automatically backs up. You don't have to say, I've been working for 2 hours and the power went out. It saves it automatically, just repeatedly. It's secure and it's mobile. So you can sync all your Google calendars using your phone. You can check your email on your phone just like you have been if you had the First Class app. So all that can still be linked together. So the first one, the big one, the one that we're going to try to tackle first is, of course, the Gmail. Now, probably a lot of you, some of you took the technology survey that I sent through email, and it appeared that most of us have at least heard of Gmail, or you have a personal Gmail account of your own. But if you have a personal one, you're going to need to have a Cleveland County Schools one. So they're going to be two separate things. So for example, on my phone, I have my personal Gmail account linked in one place. I have an app for my Gmail account for the school, so I can still check both, and they're separate, and I can still keep them separate. So you will have everybody will have one or two, depending on if you already have a personal one. First Class, we ran into some problems because it only had 75 megabytes of storage, and Gmail has 30 gigabytes, which is about 400 times more storage space. So a lot of people would say, well, I've put 5 pictures on my website and now my email's locked out. So that probably won't happen anymore. We're hopeful of that, so that's a good thing. All of our email addresses will stay the same. Everybody's domain will still be at clevelandcountyschools.org, so you don't have to change anything. You don't have to tell anybody my email address has changed. Everything will just keep moving on the same as it's been. The only thing that might be different is that you might have to create a new password. You know, when we created First Class, or we started using First Class years ago, it was like just name something simple. It didn't have to have capital letters, it didn't have to have numbers in your password. But I personally, when I logged in for the first time, I had to change mine because mine was a very short word, and now I have a capital letter, a lowercase letter, and some numbers. So you may have to change your password. We talked about how everybody's going to switch over after spring break. You can switch now, which our now is going to be when the grade levels meet. So when your grade level has your meeting, you've got all your devices, and you're switched over, then you're switched over. So everybody will kind of switch over at different times. No matter when you switch over, though, you're going to be able to work with Gmail, but your First Class is going to kind of be a backup. Because right now I've already switched over mine. So I'm checking my new mail in Gmail. I cleaned out my First Class before I even started with the Gmail. I got it down to 0. No folders, no files, no messages, no anything. 0. So my new mail comes in through Gmail. I'm still getting mail through First Class. So I check it in Gmail, I go over to First Class, and I see that I make sure I've gotten it all. Now Gmail tries to think for you sometimes, and if it thinks it's spam or trash or not very important, it puts it in spam. So I've gotten 1 or 2 in my First Class, and I'm like, wait a minute, this didn't come through on Gmail, something's wrong. But I went over and I found it in spam, and I told it, no, for me this is not spam, this is important, and it needs to go in my inbox. So kind of training it to what you think is spam, what it thinks is spam, but the other side is that you get to work with Gmail, and First Class is still there just to make sure you're getting everything, so you don't lose anything. But from when I transitioned over, I check Gmail, I I check first class, make sure they both match up, and then I delete in first class, so it's always at a 0 for me. So if you switch over this week or next week, you're going to have a while where you're going back and forth and checking and checking. If you're one of the grade levels that doesn't switch over until the end of March, then you're not going to have as much time to have to double check. So the downside is you have to maintain 2 email accounts that contain the same information. But if you rely on your Gmail and then just sort of, yeah, I think I got it, delete, and kind of get over more toward that Gmail side, you'll be more likely to do better with it and use it more. So, first class is going to have to be at a 0 when you're getting ready to switch over to Gmail. So, you're going to have to think about, how do I want to save these emails? Do I want to print some of them? Do I want to save some of them? How am I going to deal with all these messages? What do I want to do with them before I switch over?
There's no way to transition your folders into the Gmail.
Not that we heard. Several people asked that. Once you get into the Gmail, you can make folders all you want to, and they call them labels for some reason. They like the term labels instead of folders, but it means the same thing. So, like I said, you got to start thinking about how you want to save your stuff to get ready for that.
So at if we're transitioning at a grade level meeting, when we come to grade level, our email needs to be 0.
We'll help you with that. If you know how to do that, great. Go ahead. You'd be a step ahead. But if not, we'll help you through that if you need to. All right. So when we're getting over to the redirecting part, Ashley and I are going to help you with that. We're going to sit down, just your grade level, maybe some support people too, and get it all transitioned over so where you're receiving new mail in Gmail, and you're going to keep cleaning out first class as it comes to you. Just a couple of things about Gmail that are different from first class. The unsend. You used to could unsend things an hour later, 2 days later, 5 days later. Now you get 30 seconds. So if you decide, wait a minute, I didn't mean to say that, or I meant to add this to it, you better think fast. So they don't give you too much time to go back on that. However, just kind of when I've been playing around with it, I accidentally sent some things to the trash can that I didn't mean to, and you've got 30 days to get it back out of the trash can. So, be careful what you say. You don't have much time to take it back. But if you do send it and you need it back, you can get it out of your trash can. You can set up contact groups just like you could in first class. I've got some groups of grade level teachers' names. I've got and it'll make it easier instead of having to type in every single person's name or their email address. Now, this is one we're going to play around with a little bit, but for me, I read a message, I deal with it, I delete it. The guy who was our trainer from Google said he has never, ever deleted an email. Even if he replies back, okay, yes, thanks, got it, he keeps everything. So there is a way that you can archive every single message. Or if you really feel like you want to just archive messages to parents or messages to administration, there's a way to do that. And they call them labels instead of folders. We'll talk about that later. We did talk about that it automatically categorizes your spam mail. So all your CVS coupons are going to go straight to spam. All of your brochures about places you've been over the summer traveling are going to go straight to spam. If you don't want it to go to spam, you'll have to kind of teach it what you want to be spam and what you don't. Very basic. We'll go over this a lot more. Don't worry about writing it down. But you'll need to use Chrome as your browser to check your email. There will no longer be a little icon in the middle of your desktop that says First Class or Gmail. You will have to go on the internet using Chrome. Just as if you were going to search for something, you type Gmail login. When it comes up, you're going to type in your email address and your new password. It might be new to you, it might not, depending on if it was long enough to begin with. There's a button at the bottom or a box that you can check to stay signed in or to not stay signed in. If kids are using the computer, probably not a good idea to stay signed in. If it's your laptop, you're probably okay. It'll ask you for your new password. Make sure you write it down. That same password might be be the same password that you use to log on to the Active Directory instead of Novell. So we're hoping those two can be the same, your email password and your Active Directory password. And it will just ask you some personal information, edit if necessary. Alright, so that's all the email stuff. Number 2 about Google. Second component is Google Drive. Now, this chart just kind of tells types of communications, how we've been used to doing it, what Google offers, and the purpose. So we've got any kind of correspondence. You usually use Word. In Google, you're going to use what's called documents. It's basically the same thing. It looks just a little bit different, but you get the same results. You're writing letters, reports, papers, or memos. If you want to develop a slideshow, of course you've been used to PowerPoint, but now we have presentations in Google. Same exact thing. This that I'm showing you is a Google presentation, not a PowerPoint. And spreadsheets, we're used to using Excel. Of course, they just name their spreadsheets, and you're going to populate data. Then there's a different one, a new one, called Forms. And if any of you saw the technology survey that I sent through email, it was a form, and it's called Google Forms, and you might use it to survey your kids about something or to give a test. And the trainer said you could even get it to grade it for you. So a lot of things we'll have to figure out, but those are kind of the basic things. You have documents, presentations, spreadsheets, and forms.
Are we losing Microsoft?
Not yet,
But we will eventually.
but I think the key is yet. Right. So we're trying to make the slow transition, but I think eventually that's where we're going. So we're encouraged, not you have to, not, it's going to go away tomorrow, but you're encouraged to start using the Google Drive to type a document, to make a presentation, for any kind of data or forms. The good thing about Google is that there's an unlimited amount of storage space if you've created a file and shared it within this drive. So there's not, my Dropbox is full, your Google won't be full if you've created it in Google. Now there is a way to move files and upload them into Google, but then that cuts in on your space. So when you get to share and have unlimited, one, if you move it in, you are eating away at your space. Alright, so that's number 2, Google Drive. Number 3 then is Google Calendar. And we've probably all seen these before with the iPod card or different things, but Google Calendar, you could use it to display homework. They gave us one suggestion. When you're making your website, you can put a Google Calendar on your website and parents would know your homework, school appointments, meetings, and then personal uses. You can have and view multiple calendars at one time, and all of these can be synced with your phone. So you can just click and have everything meshed together. So then number 4, if we're not going to have a first class website, we have to have a website, so it's going to be under Google Sites. The current website will come uneditable after spring break. We're going to put generic information on it now to last us through the end of the year. But eventually, and I could see another maybe 6 weeks, 2 months, we're going to start working on your website through Google Sites. You kind of have 2 choices. You can start from scratch, which I know sounds hard and overwhelming, but it's really not. From scratch might be one of the easier ways to start, or you can use a template. There's some templates that Cleveland County Schools have approved for us to use, and you can use one of those. So sharing. Sharing is kind of the new buzzword. When you create all of these things using Google, you can share them not only with your colleagues, but you can share them with your students. Now, I don't know if we'll ever get to one-to-one technology in elementary, but in the middle school and high school, they're thinking seriously that's coming in the next maybe year or so. And kids will be able to pull up the same thing the teachers got, and we're all kind of sharing it together through Google. So we'll have limited attachments on emails. We'll just give people sites and permission and ownership and sharing and all of that, and everybody can see all your documents. So everything we discussed today can be shared with anybody as long as you know their address, or you can make a link for them to view what you have. You just have person to just view it? Do you want them to be able to edit it? Or do you want them to be able to comment on it? So you're kind of choosing some of your settings there as you share your information. I'm going to show you one example of each. It's very short. Your mailbox looks like this. I have mine set up where I have my unread emails at the top. I have everything else at the bottom. You can set it up where it's all mixed up, or you can, choose however you like it the best. You have some choices over here to the side. Compose, of course, you're going to write an email. If I click on one, it gives me a lot more choices at the top to deal with that. I've uploaded my picture. I can click on any of these people. I've sent them an email recently. That's just kind of an idea. The yellow means that it's important to me. So I found some in spam and I had to mark them as important to get them over here to this part. So that's what your mailbox looks like. Here's my Google Drive. I have several documents and different things that I've created. It shows who owns it, who shared it with me when we looked at it. This is the Google Calendar, my personal calendar, and when my husband works. So you can take on layers and it'll add more stuff to it. You can take off layers, it will take off things that you don't really want to look at. So you can personalize that to what fits your needs. And then I have two sites. I told you that you could either make one from scratch or you could choose a template. And here's mine from scratch. I just made 2 pages. Here's a library, here's a picture, here's when we're open. Here's the librarian, a little bit about me. Very basic. Or you can choose the template, which is more colorful, more pictures. And it tells you exactly what to put, what to say. And of course, this is where you're going to edit and change some things, but it says name, grade, take a few minutes to write a brief introduction about yourself. I mean, it tells you exactly what to put for each card. So you might like the template and you might like to start from scratch, just depends. So just as I open new things, everything's open in a new tab at the top, and it's kind of all connected and all together. So when you're ready to exit, you're going to close each tab and then click on your name to sign out. So goals for next time. When you meet individuals with your grade level, we're going to redirect your email. We're going to teach you how to open and read, how to reply to an email, how to send an attachment, how to create a new email, and how to create some groups. So we're on a journey. If we can get Gmail down, that'll be our first part. Then we'll move toward Drive and toward Calendar and toward Sites toward the end. So
Leslie, well, as far as support people, will you meet with us or y'all meet with us or where's that?
right now the plan is for you to choose what
We can
afternoon
come
is
to a
best.
grade level or
Yes.
you want, okay.
Yes, just to choose what afternoon is best for you. So I think the schedule is going to go out in the next day or two, and you'll know which day you can choose from. Okay. Anybody else?